Hello and good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you may be. My name is Peter Turnbull. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of PriApps, and thank you for joining us today. We're using the GoToWebinar webinar tool today, so if you're not familiar with that, you should have a control panel. I'd be grateful if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, if you could detail them in the appropriate section, and I'll try to answer as much as possible as we get towards the end of the webinar. Planning on running for between 20 and 30 minutes today, depending on questions, and if you are unable to attend and you're hearing this in recorded modes, thanks for trying to join us. You should also receive a copy of this recording of the webinar in your emails. So if you miss anything, don't worry. You can always ask a question or see it in the recording. That's the housekeeping, I think. So without further ado, I'm going to start introducing our latest solution from PriApps, and that's PriApps Touch-Free. So a bit of a background before we go in there. If you haven't heard of PriApps before, that's not your fault. We've been a bit of a secret behind the scenes. We actually started the business 10 or 12 years ago now. We formed it out of a company called Macro4, who were the leaders in the distributed output management space, and we began to move into office printing. And that's one of the reasons why we formed PriApps, really to target back in the day of mobile printing. We were one of the pioneers of printing from a mobile app, and that was a BlackBerry. Back in the day, we then were one of the first print management vendors to make our secure print release capability available on a mobile device, and also the ability to sign on or authenticate at an MFP from a mobile device. So we've got a bit of history with regard to mobile apps, and over the years we have been providing our technology on a white label basis to a number of partners and selling under their brand within North America and Europe. We still continue to be available in North America as ROI Print Manager, although this is mainly just for the RICO channel. And in Europe, and particularly in the Germanic regions, we're also marketing the product as PM Easy for our partner out there. But we've been marketing the technology as PriApps since 2018, so just about 18 months now. Over the years, we've amassed over 20,000 customers, so we're a substantial player in the marketplace, although you might not have heard our name. We've worked very closely with the likes of Xerox, or Sharp, Toshiba. That's where our majority of our stall base is on. Although we work with any print device at all, we don't have any restrictions there. Our product is a modular-based product. It has a number of capabilities which are available as standalone solutions or modular-based solutions. These range from usage tracking, so the ability to track any print device, whether it's a locally attached device or a network print device, whether you're printing through a print server or direct IP, we don't care. We don't actually need print servers. Nothing that we do requires us to kind of sit on the back of print servers to do any tracking or any manipulation of the print stream. So usage tracking reporting is pretty important, and it's part of the overall touch-free solution. Rules-based printing, so that's the ability to control what users are actually doing mainly in terms of color and application output. So we can, for example, make sure if people are printing emails to print them economically, so print them in mono and duplex modes and on appropriate print devices. The rules-based printing also allows us to transition output from more expensive desktop devices to multifunction devices, and a lot of our dealers, our customers are using it for that. Cost recovery and billing is really for the legal and professional services marketplace. Not going to dwell too much on that. Essentially, we can assign cost account or client matter to anything that we're doing, whether it be printing, whether it be faxing, scanning, or copying at the MFP. Quota management, some of our big school districts are using quota management to control what users are printing and copying, so we can provide quotas, monetary quotas, so we can give people $100 or €100 per month to spend, and they can do what they want, or we can limit the amount of color they're able to do by controlling clicks or whatever. Single sign-on and secure print release are really two of the main modules that together form part of the PriApps Touch-Free solution. So historically, we have got effectively what we call an embedded application running on MFPs. The application performs a number of functions. It allows the users to sign on. So it's a single sign-on authority for all our applications and services at the MFP. It also allows them to view their print jobs. So at any connected MFP, they can see all the print jobs that they've submitted, whether it's from a Mac or a Windows computer, or it's from a mobile device, smartphone or tablet, from a Chromebook, even back-end application output from mainframe Unix Linux systems. We don't care. So they can view all the print jobs on any supported MFP. They can then release them. And for many years, we've been offering the same functionality with our mobile app. So similarly, they can, rather than using the app on the MFP, they can use our mobile app to see all the print jobs and release them. So not just at MFPs, but on any network print device. And it's that functionality that we've extended to provide PriApps Touch-Free. So it was always our plan during the course of this year to introduce other capabilities such as scanning. So many customers over the years have said, you do a great job with printing, but what about scanning? Can you do one-touch scanning workflows? So that's what we had planned to do this year, but with the global pandemic that's come upon us, we've also taken the opportunity to make that functionality available on a mobile app. So rather than just walking up to the device and using the control panel for your print and copy and scan and even fax workflows, they're all available now within the app itself. So that's what PriApps Touch-Free effectively is. It's a, as we call it, a contactless app for single sign-on, for print release, for scan workflows, controlling your copy settings, and initiate faxing from the MFP. As I said, we work with any print device. Our embedded capabilities cover the majority of MFPs in the marketplace. There's a few brands that we're getting round to supporting that will be happening over the course of this year. But effectively, the majority of what you see, we already support. And of course, we support any network print device from the core capabilities of the platform. We've also migrated a lot of the functionality that we offer to the cloud. So you can have an on-premise solution, or you can have a cloud-based solution. So that's the way the market tends to be going, although we would advocate that a lot of the more powerful workflows do not lend themselves to a cloud-based solution. So, but we offer that option should you or your customers require it. So focusing on PriApps Touch-Free, I mean, what is it? As I alluded to, it's an app-based solution. It also comes with the ability to have an embedded app on the MFP. So the mobile app effectively allows you to log in as a user. So you're logging into the PriApps application server. You're not necessarily at this point logging into a specific printer or MFP. So you log in to the PriApps application server, and because we're synchronizing with your LDAP or Active Directory or your user management system, we know everything about you. We might not know your home details, but we certainly know who you are. We know your permissions, and we know your email address. We know your home folder. So that allows us to perform a number of functions. So as I said, it starts with identifying the MFP you're wanting to work at, sign on to that MFP, and then perform any print, copy, scan, and fax workflow. So I'll go into that in a bit more detail. So from a single sign-on perspective, as you can see here, we offer a number of options, and we were one of the first companies to allow users to be able to log on or sign in or authenticate at an MFP using the touchscreen here. Oops, I just noticed that I didn't have my microphone on, so hopefully you've been able to hear me okay. My apologies if you haven't. So as I was saying, so that the single sign-on allows you to basically scan a QR code with the camera. That QR code is typically published on the MFP control panel itself, or you can print the QR codes off. We can do that from the application server, and we can affix them to maybe single function printers that don't have an embedded capability to publish a QR code on. But we also have a number of other options. You can scan or scroll through the list of devices on your network and pick one from that list. You can search for them if that list is quite extensive, so you can find the printer or MFP you want to work at, or we have a list of favorites. So that remembers basically your last X number of devices that you've been using. So a number of options. The good thing about having a favorites and being able to search and having a list is that when sometimes the devices go into sleep mode or energy saving mode, then you can't actually see that QR code. So we can also wake up devices using our app here. And we also support card readers. We work with Elitech, but also support RFID card readers. So if your customer is using card readers or badges to authenticate, then we can support that as well, and that will allow them to log into the device. So this is what you do when you scan a QR code. If you haven't seen this before, you can see in that little box there. That's the kind of UI. That's what the MFP home screen looks like when we take control of it. So you can see our QR code there. I think I've got a bigger picture if you can't quite see that. So we scan that QR code. We unlock the device for the user, and we send all the user's credentials to that device. So even if you're using other applications, the device knows who you are, so you don't need to log in again and again and again to the other applications. We do have what we call role-based access. So as part of the solution, you can provide permission-based access to various services on the device. So if you don't want your users to have access to certain functions, so you might want them to release print jobs, but you don't want them to copy for whatever reason, we can control that. We can control access to color. So if it's a color device and you don't want users to print or copy in color, then we can do that. So there's a whole bunch of what we call role-based permissions that we can apply to the MFP, which is slightly different from our rules-based printing. This is what we look like on the control panel. So with the touch-free solution, we're also giving you the whole embedded application that PriApps has got to offer. We can control what information is displayed on that screen. This is an example of us effectively removing the ability for the user to type their PIN or their full user credentials. So we're just prompting them to either scan the QR code or present their ID card as an option. So again, as part of your value proposition about trying to get people back into the office, but in a complying with social distancing and reducing the amount of touching of things like control panels they need to do, then this is a way we prompt them to do that. So you get the full embedded application with the touch-free solution as well. This is what it would look like if you were to select your printers for a list. Obviously, if that list goes, if you've got 100 devices, you can scroll through that. So on your app, And then once you've logged into the device, you're then prompted to select a function. So what do you want to do? The Touch-Free app works with printers and MFPs, so single function printers. So obviously in a single function printer, you don't have a copy, scan, or fax capability. In that case, these options would be grayed out within your application. I know fax isn't often a capability or a service that's enabled on an MFP. So again, if a particular service is not there, it's going to be grayed out, so the user isn't going to, start pressing buttons and being frustrated because nothing's happening. So the options that are available are activated on the app itself. Okay. Secure print release, and we've had this for many years. You can see all your print jobs. Unlike some other products, we don't care what format it's in. We're not limited to kind of PDFs. So any document format, doesn't matter how obscure it is, whether it comes from a mobile device, whether it comes from your laptop, workstation, Chromebook, whatever. We hold the jobs in the user's personal queue, and they can view that on their app. They can select the jobs they want to release. They can confirm the settings, so we can change various settings such as color mono, number of copies, one-sided, two-sided. We can also retain jobs if that isn't the default at the server level. So even when you print it, the job will still remain in your queue. And a lot of customers use that for printing forms on a regular basis, rather than having to go back and do a file print yet again. So select your print jobs, and you can release it at any device, whether it's a printer. The only stipulation is it has to be on the network. So unfortunately, if it's not on the network, we can't send anything to it. So, well, you wouldn't be able to print anyway. If you select the copy function, you've got a number of other options here. It's very similar to the printing option. So here you can select stapling and hole punching. You can select the paper type. So what we're trying to do here is we've designed the solution in conjunction with a number of our existing dealer partners. And the feedback that we're getting is we want to keep the functions as basic as possible for the average user. So we're not going to give you every single function on the device. Although having said that, the latest iteration of the app allows us to identify specific users as what we call advanced users. And if you're an advanced user, you will get a button, additional button there between the hole punch and the copy. And you will select that, and that will give you every single function that the MFP has. So you get all the paper options, you get all the staple options, you get all the hole punch options. When it comes to scanning, you get a huge amount of other options, such as resolution, file formats, and so on and so forth. So what we're actually doing behind the scenes is that we have interrogated all the devices on the network, all the devices that are under our control. So we hold the information about what their capabilities are. So when the user logs into that, we present these capabilities to the user. And that's great because sometimes different devices offer different functions. And I'm not just talking between different MFP brands, but even within an MFP brand, the different models will offer different capabilities. So if you are an advanced user and you have the advanced capabilities, you can select more of the options that you want to do without having to actually physically go into the control panel and select them yourself. So it's incredibly powerful functionality in your hands now. The scan workflows, there's 4 types of scan workflows at the moment. There will be more to come. As I said, we know who you are, so you can scan to your own email address with single button scanning, as well as your home folder. So that's fairly straightforward. You can scan to anyone else's email address, whether that's internal to the organization or external. And you can scan to a network folder. So you can scan to any network folder or any shared folder that the PriApps application server has permission to access. So there, in fact, you can also support the scan to Gmail, scan to, sorry, not Gmail, but the Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Dropbox type applications. You can scan to the local host for that, so that you can then synchronize the folder up to your main account. So that allows us to support these applications. We will be offering, direct device to cloud base scanning in future releases of the software, but at the moment we're scanning to the folders, and then the folders are synchronizing with your cloud-based storage capabilities. So we can still offer that functionality from the get-go. As I mentioned, you've got a lot more scan setting options here. So again, the initial screen that you will see as a standard user simply has the basics on it, which is going to satisfy the good old 80% of requirements. If you want any more sophisticated type scanning options, they can be accessed through the advanced button, which you're not seeing on that screenshot there. So the workflow is always the same. You log into the MFP, you select the function that you're wanting, you then select the workflow and then confirm the settings. Hopefully, after the first and second time you've done that, it's not going to be too onerous, because we remember the settings, so we don't need to prompt the user to change them every time. We revert back to the previous settings. From a scanning perspective, we can allow the user to enter the document name. We can also set up a standard naming convention so that the user doesn't need to do that, so it makes it a bit more intelligible than just getting a random device generated name to the document. And we also have a favorite, so if you can select from previous names that you may have named documents. So once you've confirmed your settings, you scan it, and we pop up a confirmation just to make sure that the users put their documents in the correct location they've specified. If fax is a service that's enabled in the MFP, we support fax as well. You simply either enter your fax number that you want to send the information to, and confirm the settings similar to what you've seen before. If there's the numbers that you've sent to previously, we've got a kind of favorites list that remembers previous numbers, and fax the document. So I mentioned the fact that with PriApps Touch-Free, you're also getting our full-blown MFP client or application. So once you've actually logged in as a user, you'll then get a slightly different screen from normal, and this is to help with the social distancing and comply with all the guidelines in order to get people back into the office and using the equipment. So you'll get a do not touch kind of message popping up here. It tells you what to do, tells you should be using your touch-free app. If you need to access the options on MFP, then obviously we allow you to do that, because some people might not have a smartphone, they might not have it with them, so we're not going to prevent people from doing anything. But of course, if that's what the customer wants to do, we can absolutely do that. So we're kind of flexible, but the default is to allow users to access the options, even though they've been it's been suggested that they don't need to do that. So if they go through and need to use the control panel of the device, and this is what our kind of standard product looks like, you will see our dashboard. Again, one touch workflows. So you want to go and see your print jobs, hit print. You want to do a copy, select the copy option. You want to go into your scan workflows, select the scan option, and then there's a fax option. And if you just want to go into the home page of the MFP, obviously you can do that. And this is what our standard print release screen looks like. It's the same screen on all brands of MFP we support. And models, obviously there's different sizes of screens, so we've made slight adjustments to that so you can see it. But the idea is to have big readable buttons, And this option, we've got our cost recovery feature activated, so you're seeing the cost accounts of each job. Obviously, if that function isn't activated, then it's hidden from the user. They don't get confused with that information. Okay. So, in summary, that's a quick tour of the PriApps Touch-Free solution. It builds on our existing embedded application. I know many of you will say, well, it's not actually embedded. Well, that's just what we call it. We know it's not physically running on the device. So it helps you get your customers up and running again after the lockdown. So getting people back into the office, but also allowing them to allowing the organizations to help your users not spread infection, not spread disease, not spread the virus. You know, you can obviously wipe the control panels with sanitizer, alcohol wipes all the time, but as we know, that might damage the screens in the long term. Yes, people do need to continue to wash their hands, but you know, if you don't need to touch the screen, then you shouldn't need to touch the screen. So hopefully your device is safe. You don't need to continue to get sore hands from washing all the time. We include the embedded functionality with the solution. We include the ability to track all the usage and report on all the usage that's going on within the system, so you get that as well. So that's some of the kind of key benefits of the solution. In terms of what devices it supports, this supports every device that we support. So we go back a number of years, so it's not necessarily something that's only going to work on the latest and greatest models of device. So you can actually use this to go back into your existing customer base and sell them something without having to, you know, refresh the fleet. So, you know, I know that's going to be a challenge as we move forward by physically delivering new equipment, so you can get this solution up and running on the customer's existing equipment. So that's a good advantage from a sales perspective. Okay, well that's just about all I have to say on the PriApps Touch-Free solution at the moment. We have more information on our website. We've created a little microsite. If you have any questions, I see there's a few questions here that I'll get to. If you have any questions that pop to mind, please do reach out and talk to us, and we're here to help. And despite the accent, we're headquartered in Austin, Texas, so quite hot here this week nowadays. So we've got operations in Austin, Texas, and we have European operations based just outside London in the United Kingdom. So some of the questions, yeah, obviously a lot of the screenshots there were of an iOS device. So got the question, does it work with Android devices? So what we've actually done is we've targeted the iOS platform first of all. We also now have available a generic web browser application. So the idea being that it will work with any mobile device. So whether it's a Windows device, whether it's an iOS, Android, whatever, we target that. So basically, it's a true mobile solution, and then we will get our developers to get on and kind of recreate this the same app for Android. But if you're an Android user today, you can use the web-based client, and that will work. Does this work with well, my existing solution? No is a short answer to that. We used to use our mobile front end to products like EchoTrack and PaperCut back in the day, because they didn't have that functionality. But PriApps basically offers all the functionality that these guys do, and we profess to do a bit more. So this is a replacement. So if you're looking to migrate an existing customer PriApps, we have special incentives for you to do that, and we have a lot of experience about migrating from one print management system to another. Is this cloud-based? Sort of, yes. It technically does work in a cloud-based solution, although we're initially recommending you run it as an on-premise solution. There's a lot of kind of back-end communications going on to devices and to the network, etc. So that lends itself to an on-premise type solution. So I would recommend that. Although a lot of our other functionality, if you're looking for just a cloud-based print management solution, we can offer that to. We've got many customers doing that already. And finally, how do I become a dealer? So yeah, please give us a call and we can talk you through the various options. We're fairly easy to work with, I would say, fairly flexible. So talk to us. We believe we offer more sales opportunities than some of the other people out there. So it's not just one all-you-can-eat solution, it's multiple solutions at different price points. You're dealing direct with PriApps, so we don't need to pay any distributors, so we pass on that type of margin to yourself. So you're going to get more margin from this. And as I said, this is being recorded, so fingers crossed that the GoToWebinar platform will automatically send you out a recording of this webinar. If you don't get that within the next day or so, please do kind of reach out to me, to anyone, and we'll make sure you get a recording. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you're going to have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.